Thank you. I'm delighted to be here tonight. Thank you to Tree for all the great poetry events and for the chapbook contest. And thank you to Claudia for producing this beautiful chapbook. Thank you, Claudia. And thanks to all of you for coming out tonight. It's great to see so many friendly faces. I'd like to start. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to start with two poems from the chapbook, Directions to Suffern, New York, circa 1950. A couple of things about the chapbook. Suffern is my hometown. The poems in the chapbook move freely back and forth between the past and the present, and also the poems are untitled. Directions to Suffern, New York, circa 1950. Focus on your job in Ottawa. Give birth to a daughter. Raise her and take her to Suffern, circa 2000. When a teenager answers the door at 145 Wayne Avenue, introduce yourselves. Don't hesitate if he prefers his Game Boy and lets you wander the house alone. Rummage around. Regard each room as your daughter might view it. Tour with her and welcome her questions. Show her the second door to the porch. Yes, breezes did reach you at dinner on scorcher days like these. Smell the acetic acid in the rear corner of the cellar. Other fathers didn't build their own dark rooms. She's right. The house does seem less spacious than the home you've always described. Exit quickly with thanks when the boy's father arrives and ushers you from the upstairs hall. Once back in Canada, mail a note. They won't respond, but offer to purchase the yellow wall lamp your mother bought for the den. A second poem. Click on the link your cousin emails you. Pore over photos of familiar rooms furnished to help sell this Wayne Avenue property. Resolve to write science fiction when you grow up. Straight away, start chapter 1. Quote, 700 kilometers from Suffern, each room of the 1950s house appears on a screen in Ottawa. The rooms are as they will be 70 years in the future, unquote. Photoshop the aluminum shelves out of the master bedroom. Can you edit the gray IKEA chairs so they sag like the black ones in your parents' room? Sit with your parents. Refuse to go to bed until they explain the space-time continuum in a way you might understand. Why continuous blue stripes your father painted on basement poles remain and he doesn't. I'd like to read a few poems from my new manuscript, which is called Buckled into the Sky. The first poem is one that seemed to me to cry out to be written. It's a poem of anagrams of the word economical. Economical. 1. Came in cool. Am nice cool. Man, ice cool. Anemic cool. Cinema cool. Iceman cool. Can ice loom? 2. Claim on eco, no mecha oil. Manic eco, low. Male ecocon, mecha oil on, coal income. Oil con came, no eco claim. 3. Alone comic, comical one. A comic Noel, comical eon. 4. Coma, no lice. Am ice colon, am colic one. A colic omen, a mice colon. 5. Cocaine mole, I conceal ohm. The next poem is about a baby doll I had as a child, a boy doll, which was really unusual in those days. I've always remembered this doll and wanted to write about it, but I couldn't get a poem to work. So someone finally suggested that since I was so obsessed with this plastic doll, why didn't I try the poem as a villanelle, and the repeating lines could mirror my obsession. So here's a villanelle about this doll, which I've named, for some reason, Billy. Billy. First you detached his head to hear the hiss inside his empty skull. Guilt's half-life lasts for decades. You dropped his blue plaid pants and found no boy parts traced or shaped. Still, you'd already detached his head. Then you dumped Billy on a shelf, but he wouldn't return to his plastic form. His half a life in your first decade. Time melts. Your own girl's grown. You dream a Billy who lacks any flesh. No head you might want to detach. He languishes on your mind's dark shelf, alone at its silent edge. You wince at his half-life. Guilty for how many decades? His were the first boy ears to hear your thoughts. This toy you tossed in dust soon after you unhinged his head. Your pangs of guilt live on half your life. The next poem is the title poem of the manuscript. Buckled into the sky. You pee in the sky, but when you try to sleep in the sky, a cushion of air yawns underneath you into the abyss. You eat in the sky, your tray meal so brief, you chew over text on the box of Monty's chicken and thyme hot wrap, made in South Godstone, UK. It's palm oil more than it's chicken, 16%. And while in the sky, as you stare at your screen, a cartoon paper bag mourns its mate blown ever closer to the vapor of a vast paper pulp vat. If you read in the sky, ink's straight root shivers above the clouds. If you'd like to talk in the sky, seatmates gawk at the void past the wing. So little chicken, confined high in air, you wait for the sky to fall. The next poem I'd like to read from the manuscript is more contemplative. Flow. As our seaside month ebbs, we perch on this wide beach rock. Watch each wave curl and stretch. Hear it announce its arrival on shore. Follow its furrows of undersea sand that wiggle with each undertow. Then we rise, imprint our feet on dunes, stout marks on firm sand, shallow steps in sodden spots, and squish brief signatures onto water's edge between erasing waves. Retreat to our rock so black-backed gulls can digest their overturned crabs before dusk dissolves all this except the sea's pulse, the sharp salt air. I'd like to read another quieter poem, this one from my book Math for Couples, which came out last year. Outside quotidian time. 1. Snow falls in feathered flakes. Laughter flutters as passers-by push stuck cars. Along the street, people seem weightless, even women with thick-set legs. My own steady step drags to a standstill. Will my knees carry me home? 2. Muted evening holds my yard in pearled glow from a hazy moon. I remove mounds of snow from my car, though I have no plans to go out tonight. On the crabapple branch above my head, red fruit buds sit dotted with snow. I'll close with one more poem from Directions to Suffern, New York, circa 1950. Sing, O Canada, until you're hoarse. Press weights until your biceps ache, as if you'd lifted a thick cotton American flag on its solid wood pole and lugged it down the driveway. Slide it into the angled iron tube your father dug into the soil. You can place your palm on your heart and sing the Star-Spangled Banner, but don't expect the flag to fly. Ignore your house with its blue shutters. It will always be there. Remember, you're the one who packed your plaid suitcase and flew from Suffern to that big Midwest town where Wolfe and Proust grew in quadrangle grass, and friends, like-minded as ivy on brick classroom walls, clustered around you. Later, accompany one friend in an urban direction. Insert geography behind you, cross countries and decades. Settle, but when sunlight illuminates gray hairs, pluck Proust or Wolfe off your shelf. Trample the borders you once constructed. Sponge their dust from your skin and ramble in the shade of Suffern's tree-lined days. Thank you.